Well, welcome back to the When I Heard This podcast. My name is Nate Robinson. I'm here with Pastor Joseph Tillman, MDiv, soon to be D-Man. How are you doing today, sir?
You know what? I'm well. I'm a little sick.
Yeah.
Hope my voice doesn't sound too off, but I'm doing okay.
I'll just edit around it.
You gonna make it sound better?
Yeah.
Sweet. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I'll distort your voice and just put a black box over your face. That'll fix it.
That'll take care of everything.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Always looking out for me.
Today we're talking about school.
We are.
Yeah. That's going to be a whole time.
There's a lot of stuff to cover. Yeah.
Go to Patreon, $5. Like, subscribe. Emphasis on that one. Comment, share, follow, download. Facebook and Instagram is When I Heard This podcast, and X and Locals is When I Heard This. School.
We went to school.
We did.
Yeah.
I went to all of the schools.
Every one of them?
Yeah, every single school.
Sweet.
I
can't wait to hear.
I went to church preschool, and then homeschool, and then Baptist school, and then homeschool, and then back to Baptist school, and then to different Baptist school, then to public middle school, then public high school, then public college. So
yeah, you did. You went to a lot of different schools, my man.
Lifetime of this discussion. Here we go. Okay, so I didn't know how to start this off very well, because I didn't want to ask you, like, what is school? So
I appreciate that not being the first question.
So, okay. So we're talking about how Christians, what the deal is with them with school.
Okay.
So Christians hate public school.
Okay.
Obviously.
Right. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Except for the fact that it's free.
Right.
But yeah. So the Christians basically believe that public school has gone downhill since it started for a variety of reasons. What is the history of that, and what are the reasons?
Okay. Well, so first of all, like, Christians aren't the only ones that are not happy with public schools in their present form.
Yeah, but Christians started it.
Okay. So, but I do think that there's an issue with just people not loving the philosophy of education that's found in public schools. And listen, I went to public school my whole, like, up through high school. So I'm a product of public schools. So, but I think especially now where there's just schools and class sizes have gotten so big, I think it's become really difficult and really hard to teach critical thinking and those kind of things within public schools, because I think so often teachers are just trying to manage classroom sizes. So,
okay,
I'm not saying that across the board. I'm just saying, I think that's it. So I think some people have problems, I guess, with public school because they feel like they're just kind of giving kind of rote memorization to kids, memorize it, and then the kids are really never taught to critically think for themselves.
Right.
And then they get to college and they're inundated with all this crazy stuff and they don't know how to think through it.
The crazy stuff is why we're here.
It is why we're here, because the crazy stuff always starts in academia at, like, university levels and comes down.
Right.
So
to all of us morons
that are in school, public schools. Right. Yeah. So, all right. But you asked about the Christians specifically, so I'll deal with that. So, public schools actually began around like the earliest public schools, 1630s. It actually was by the Puritans.
Okay.
So public school actually has their heritage in Christianity.
But the Puritans, that would have been a Christian school, basically.
Sure.
Publicly available to only Christians.
Okay. Well, and so, but that's where it started.
Okay.
And then then public schools kind of started popping up other places.
So then what happened?
So And so by 1918, all American children are required to attend at least elementary school.
Okay.
All right. And it's free public schools. Okay. You have to at least attend through elementary school. And even through like all of this whole time, there's still been a fairly strong Judeo-Christian influence in the school system.
Mm-hmm.
And so allowing for times of prayer, allowing for scriptures to be read, even Bible classes being available in schools was in public schools was pretty norm. And I can from being from the South, I can at least testify to that from the South. That was all pretty norm. And then around the 1960s is when things started to shift and change.
Okay.
And so 1962, 1963, you've got prayer being removed from schools. You have Bible scripture readings being removed from schools. And so they actually used to, like, over the intercom, like, it was very normal over the intercom for the principal or someone to read a passage of scripture and then for everyone to pray the Lord's Prayer together.
Okay. And
then sometimes after that, the teacher may even go further with her own Bible lesson. And again, that's testimonies of people I've talked to from around the South. So that it may look different in other areas of the country.
Mm-hmm.
But that was norm. But again, in 62, 63, all of that began being pushed out. And that's, I guess, when you began to have Christians starting to have issues with it. And then through the late 1980s and into the 1990s, evolution, there was a court case, and basically what happened was evolution no longer had to be taught side by side with what they called or termed creation science.
Okay.
And so now evolution could be taught as the theory.
Oh, that was a court case that happened.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it actually, so at one point, I think it was Louisiana, and I could be wrong on that, had it where you had to teach both.
Mm-hmm.
But then it got overthrown in the Supreme Court level.
Okay.
And so then public schools began at that point to be free to teach just evolution if they so chose.
Okay.
And then that's eventually kind of caught momentum, and creation science, again, that's what it was termed, was again eventually kind of just dropped off from the curriculum. And now, the present day we're in, you've got discussions on gender and sex and queer theory and critical race theory within schools. And I think that's kind of caused everything within Christians, Christians with kids in schools, that these are the things that are probably present day issues that are concerning to parents.
Okay.
Yeah. So a brief sketch, kind of crude, but brief sketch.
Why is it important that Christians have prayer in public schools? Who cares?
Yeah. And I actually understand this one. Like, when you talk about prayer, and I know when I was in school, I don't know what your experience was. When I was in school, they didn't call it prayer anymore. They called it
moment of silence.
Moment of silence. Yeah.
Yes.
So we had a moment of silence. And that was kind of, I guess, maybe a way around that.
Yeah.
But that was the way it was for me when I was in school. I had a moment of silence. And I think that's actually pretty cool. In the sense of, like, all right, we're going to take a moment of silence. You want to pray? You can pray. You want to meditate? You can meditate. You want to do nothing, whatever. And I don't mind that. I mean,
the only thing you can't do is make noise.
Right. You just got to be quiet. Yeah, exactly. And so I don't mind that. And I understand that, especially Christians, look back at when prayer was taken out of school as like this shift in our country.
Mm-hmm.
And that everything started going downhill from that point is what a lot of Christians would actually say. And I don't think it's as simple as that.
Okay.
I think that at large, there was a shift during that time frame of our country moving from having a Judeo-Christian worldview and kind of moving out of that to a more modern worldview.
So you think that the prayer in public schools was a symptom and not the disease?
Yeah, I do.
Or whatever?
Yeah, because like if we're going to gather people up and it's offered for free public school prayer, right? Or it's offered, public schools offered for free for any individual that wants to come. I don't think that they should be forced to pray to a God they don't worship.
Yeah.
And I don't think they should be forced to have to listen to just Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're going to, like if scriptures were going to be read, to be fair, I think you're going to have to go, all right, well, today we're going to read from the Bible. Tomorrow we're going to read from the Quran, right? Wednesday we're going to read from the Book of Mormon, and keep going. And day 4 we're going to choose one of the sacred texts for the Hindus and read it. And day 5 we're going to use a Wiccan book. And where does it stop? And
we spent all day today just moment of silencing with all the religions, and never got out of that.
That's all we did. And
I don't have any homework.
And so I do understand why prayer and why reading of scripture was taken out of schools. Okay. So now I also realize by me saying this, that there's gonna be a lot of people not happy with me that I'm saying this. And but there's going to be a lot of Satanists and giving me 2 thumbs up. Yeah. And so because
shout out.
Shout out to all those Satanists who are following us. Thanks for subscribing, guys. And so I think that oh Lord. So I think that what is, so when it's school forced, I agree that shouldn't be forced. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't agree with the extreme side that says we need to have every government space, which they would include schools in that, be free from religion.
Okay.
And we've talked about this before. I think we did our separation of church and state. Yeah. And so I'm not going to get all into it again, but just the idea of, there's one thing to have freedom of religion, which I think not forcing people to pray to a God they don't worship, not forcing them to hear scriptures. I think that's honoring a freedom of religion. Okay. What I don't think should be found is a freedom from religion, where you can't have religious discussions or religious groups that meet in public schools.
So you're talking about after school Bible club or something?
Yeah, after school Bible club, or even conversations in school.
Or like elective Bible classes?
Yeah, sure. Why not? But you better also offer elective, Quran classes, right? I mean, like,
would you like to take Christianity or Wiccan?
Yeah.
I've been thinking about this all day.
Well, it's like, or have like I know in college, I took a comparative religion class.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty standard. A lot of, people take comparative religion classes. Have that in the schools.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't think any of that's wrong per se. And I don't think that students should be squelched from being able to have conversations about religion, or they shouldn't, they should be able to put up posters. Hey, our club is meeting after school, right? Any group can do that of any religion, not just Christians, like any group of any religion. And I think that you have to honor that. And so that's where I'm saying I do understand the freedom of religion. We don't want to have anything forced upon.
Okay.
But I don't want there to be a freedom from religion where somehow religion becomes this taboo topic that can't be talked about.
Okay.
Right? I think that's, to me, and especially as kids are getting, as they get older and they're in their high school years, my oldest son right now is a freshman in high school. And if he was in a class and they were having an open discussion about religions, that wouldn't bother me one bit at all. He is fully capable to be able to critically think through all that,
Okay.
to ask questions, to learn more information, to see different perspectives and viewpoints. And so I think all of that actually could be really healthy. And because I think instead we've created this culture of like, we don't even know how to dialogue about different religions together without people just losing their minds and being upset. What if we learned that early on? What if they learned that at 15, 16? They learn how to talk to people of different religions in an honoring and respectful way. And so I think it could actually be healthy.
There's a lot of stuff that the religions agree on even.
Sure. Yeah.
Right?
There's some fundamental morality in particular that's found that they do
most
agree
of
on.
them. Not some of the
not all of them, obviously. And you're not going to get, and they don't all obviously gel together, right? Yeah. Christianity, Islam, Judaism are all, exclusive religions in the sense that they believe that they have an exclusive truth claim. So they don't all agree with each other, obviously. But again, I think that's part of the beauty of being able to have a dialogue and a conversation. And I think if we were able to help teach our kids how to do that early enough, they would know how to handle those discussions later on without having to become angry, defensive, or in particular attacking of another person, on a personal level, as opposed to just engaging in the conversation.
Evolution. That was the next point that you brought up in the first question. What just when your kid gets home after evolution day, tell them that was wrong.
Right.
And show them Genesis and be like, this is the real one.
Right.
Just answer the questions on the test so you get an A, and then believe this. Like, don't get it.
Right. Yeah, I think with the evolution one in particular, again, if the teachers want to teach a theory of evolution, like, go for it. Okay? I think they need to teach it, though, as theory. Like, in other words, this is a possibility.
Yeah, but does it matter that they do that? Does that really matter?
I think if you're going to teach evolution, and you have multiple religions who disagree with that, by the way, this is not just a Christian issue.
Yeah.
If you're going to teach evolution, then I think you need to do it in such a manner that says, we believe this is possible. And here's what I'm getting to with this. Because if you're going to make kids take a test over evolution, right? Have them be able to write out, well, what are your thoughts on evolution? Agree or disagree? What are the points that you find convincing? What are the points you don't find convincing?
I remember hearing somebody, it was like maybe a pastor, go through like questions, and they're like, this question just assumes you believe in evolution. It's like, well, yeah. Like, what are you talking about?
Right.
Yeah, this gravity question assumes that I'm able to press down on a piece of paper and answer the questions on the test.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Like, just, anyway.
Yeah, but I think gravity, we all agree gravity.
Sure.
We don't all agree evolution. and I think that's what I'm getting to, though. This is what I was saying up from the very top. I don't understand why we can't give space for critical thinking in when we're teaching this stuff. Because most of the times you're not hearing about evolution until you get into the weeds of it, until you're in high school.
Right.
And you're taking science classes there. So again, presented as a theory, here's the things that cause us to believe it to be true. Engage with it. But discuss it.
So my question is, though, like, if you're right, you're right.
Okay.
Like that would be the more appropriate way
Sure.
to discuss it.
Sure.
But Christians didn't send their kids to public school because of that.
Right.
Instead of sending their kids to public school and when they got home just saying, hey, that's wrong.
Right, sure.
Like, why that?
Yeah, and you're right. You could absolutely do that.
I don't get it. So what was that? Like if that was a whole thing in the 90s about public
because
school.
I think because of the shift that was happening in the 90s, what it came across as was not just that we're going to teach evolution in lieu of creation science. We're actually going to attack creation science as well.
Okay.
I think that became the issue for parents.
Was that actually happening?
Yes, in some sense, yes, it was.
Okay.
And so you had, and I'm not saying across the board sweeping truth.
Okay.
But yes, there were hey, we're going to teach this. If you believe in creation, that's stupid.
Okay.
Here's actual science.
Okay.
Yeah.
Honey, you're not stupid.
And so I think that was the feel of it, was not just that creation science wasn't being taught alongside evolution anymore, because evolution had been taught. Like, I don't want to come across like evolution had not been taught at this point.
Okay.
They had been taught together.
Okay.
Creation science was now being removed. And so now it kind of gave the freedom for professors or teachers, to be able to say, no, that, not only are we going to teach evolution, we're going to
tell kids that their religion is wrong.
And I think that's where it crosses the line.
Okay.
Yeah. For any religion, right? Not just Christianity, but for any religion, for a teacher to sit there and say, your religion is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's problematic.
Okay.
So I don't think that's the space or the sphere for it.
In science class.
In science class. Or especially in that situation where you have an adult authority figure telling a kid your religion's garbage or whatever. And on any basis. I think rather and again, because then that's teaching kids again to just reject at hand something without being willing to have
what
conversations.
Their parents are teaching them at home.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, or if they don't reject what their parents are teaching at home, feel like they have to kind of. I mean, you were 14, 15, 16. Sometimes kids at that age feel like they have to just go along with what the professor says or their teacher says to make sure they get a good enough grade.
Right.
And I mean, most kids at that point in time doesn't even consider, engaging back with their teacher and disagreeing.
But there's also kids that don't care about getting good grades.
And that's true too. And they can just give a flip about it. Yep. That's very true too.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Fact. So
when were the Neanderthals? The Bible. F you.
Right. Who cares?
Yeah, who cares?
I know.
The next thing that you brought up was sexy, gendery, race stuff.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So what is wrong with teachers talking to my child about who they want to sleep with?
Wow. Okay. Yeah,
is that a good way of asking that question?
I guess that's a good way of asking the question.
Okay,
what's wrong with that?
Again with this one, like evolution.
Okay.
So they go to school.
Right.
They learn about, correct terms, homosexuality. Transgenderality, and all the other ones.
Okay.
When they get home, just tell them that's wrong.
Right. Okay. I think
I don't get it.
Yeah, I guess the question is, for taxpayers,
okay,
what are we actually sending our kids to school for? Okay. I want them to learn math, right? I want them to learn history. Okay. And we're going to get into the race stuff with history in a little bit. Okay.
All right.
Because I think we have to discuss that. And so you learn how to read and to write and to, and you learn about science and everything else. And so my point is what we're not sending kids to school for is to receive an ideology. Okay. So the same way that I'm saying that we shouldn't push prayer and we shouldn't push Bible readings on kids.
Okay.
Okay.
But we should offer it.
You can offer it.
So you can offer, come learn about who you want
Sure.
to have sex with.
Well,
Classes.
okay. If and I would say there's age appropriate levels for all of this,
Okay.
right? So if I'm in high school
Mm-hmm.
and the high school is offering an elective on gender studies, right?
Okay.
Okay. Now we can discuss, is that the best use of resources and time for a high school student? But if you're offering that, okay, you're offering that. If kids want to go to that,
If that
cool.
had been in high school, I would have taken it.
You'd have taken it.
Oh,
You'd
yeah.
have been there.
I'd have been there every day.
I know.
I'd be giving the teacher apples and.
Yeah, you'd also been a pain in their neck.
This is a Steve's apple. I would have been so annoying in that
I was
class.
going to say,
I would have asked questions the whole time.
Yeah, they would have absolutely hated
That would have been so
you.
much fun. Oh,
Oh,
man,
yeah,
I missed out.
you did.
Born too young. Old.
Yeah, you're old. So, I think if you're going to offer things, sure, offer things as electives, okay?
Mhm.
But here's in kind of getting into some real talk here, like especially like elementary, middle school level, there's not need to be discussions on sexuality, on gender, on because these are big issues, and so I think that there's when we talk about same-sex attraction and gender dysphoria and all those kind of things, like these are big topics and big issues that I don't think that teachers should be bringing up in their classrooms with elementary age kids or with middle school age kids.
Why is this? This feels more offensive to Christians than even evolution seemed when I was growing up.
Oh, 100%.
Why?
100%.
What's the difference?
Because I think at the core of this, at the core of it, is what seems to be an agenda. Not seems. There is an agenda. Let's call it. I'm going to call it for what I see it as.
Okay.
An agenda to sexualize our kids.
Okay.
An agenda to cause our kids to question their very identities at an age where they're not actually cognitively able to do that.
Okay.
So with my background in child and family development, and I'm talking about the cognitive developments of kids,
Mm-hmm.
kids are not able to even have those conversations. They're not able to cognitively wrap their heads around it. And so I think that becomes the issue for me. Now, there's a space and a time where same-sex attraction, questions on gender need to be had. So I'm not discounting it, but I'm just saying I don't think the public school system is the arena, the sphere for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just like it's not the arena or sphere for
prayer to be pushed down on people or scripture to be. Yeah. I just think we have to what is the purpose of school?
So if all of this stuff was a elective class in high school, you'd be fine with that.
If it was all an elective,
you'd send your kids to public school.
Yeah. If this was an elective class, okay, and I'm going to be honest about it.
Mm-hmm.
Would I be jumping up and down thrilled about it? No.
Okay.
Okay. However, I'd rather it be in an elective class like that than being a topic of discussion in their math class.
Okay.
Where I mean, and I think that to be fair, and I do think this is the problem with doing this kind of stuff, is it's hard to have objective or not. It's hard to have that conversation with just one teacher who's coming at it from one way, with one lens. In other words, what I'm saying is, if you're going to have a gender studies class,
yeah, you'd need teachers from every gender.
Otherwise,
you're not getting the full experience of the class.
And you would need teachers with different perspectives.
Yes.
To offer the different.
Because it's all about perspective.
Yes. So, but I don't know. I think I would say that I think that most of these conversations should be happening with families and parents at home. And I get the argument that not all parents are having these conversations with their kids. I'm not living in a bubble. I understand that. And so, but I just don't think that, again, early on, it's not healthy. By high school, especially by the time kids, are 16, 17, 18 years old, those last couple of years, like I would love if actually there was a class on, hey, let's talk about, this is going to be a class on intersectionality.
Okay.
Which is going to include all the things we're talking about. Okay. We're going to have a class on intersectionality. It's going to talk about gender. It's going to talk about sex. It's going to talk about race. It's going to talk about religion, so on and so forth. We're going to have a class on this, and you're going to get to hear from various teachers their perspectives on this. And then we're going to have discussions.
I mean, that sounds like college.
Yes. It actually will prepare them to go to college where they will go into a gender studies class, but they won't have multiple teachers teaching that class. You're going to have one teacher that's going to be teaching that class from one perspective. Well, wouldn't it have been healthier if you already had a framework of what they're going to be teaching, but already been exposed to various levels or various perspectives on that topic?
Since elementary school.
Since high school day. And, and I think we're just missing just the basic fundamental stages of development for kids. Okay. Like in elementary school, we're just wanting to give them facts. And a lot of it is memorization, to understand, all right, well, what state do you live in? Where's the capital? How many states are there in America? That kind of basic stuff, learning how to read, learning how to write, learning how to spell, vocabulary. There's what's called in classical education, it's called the grammar stage to teach that. Then you move them to logic and they begin to learn logic. Hey, this is the way a syllogism is formed. This is the way that I can go from premise A to premise B to a conclusion. This is how I discover fallacies within the world of syllogisms. And so all teaching kids how to logically think. And then by the time they get to high school, especially in that 10th, 11th, 12th grade years, now we're not just learning how to think logically, but we're learning how to discuss logically, write logically. And so you're not just learning how to just break down a syllogism or form a syllogism. You're learning to hear from other people giving a logical argument and then be able to interact and discuss in that way. And I think that's what we're missing from high schools because now there's no critical thinking hardly ever taught. That should be a class. Learn how to critically think, learn how to do logic on just learn how to do basic formal logic, learn how to do material logic, learn these things. And then by the time if kids go to school, if they go to universities, they go to colleges, they're already prepared to engage in the discussions that are going to be had on campus. And I think, unfortunately, we've got a lot of kids going to colleges, hearing things, not knowing how to critically engage with it. And therefore, they just take things just at face value or reject it at face value for whatever reason. And instead of going, okay, well, what's true there? What's not true there? Right? And so that's my broader issue.
Okay, well, I hear you.
Yeah.
But what I think is that you're just afraid that your kid is gay. So what do you think about that?
Why would I be afraid that my kid's gay? And what would that have
You just went on a whole big old long thing about your kid trying to be smart and critically think and whatever. Right. But I think that you're just afraid that your kid's gay.
That's just not true at all.
And I think you're afraid that the teacher is going to be like, hey, you might be gay.
Right.
And the kid's going to be like, yeah, I might be gay. And then he's going to tell you that he's gay and you're not going to like that he's gay. And then you're going to kick him out of your house for being gay.
What?
That's
Wow. It's a house of cards of assumptions.
So what do you say to that?
I say false to all of it.
Okay.
No, I think this is probably the broader issue for me. It's like, I think that's the quote unquote concern is that's what's said about Christians. Well, you're just afraid.
Yeah.
You're just afraid. No, it's not that I'm afraid. It's that I don't care regardless of religion. I don't care regardless of what you believe. I think there's just proper things that should be taught at a proper age.
Okay.
By the right people.
Okay.
At the right time. That's all I'm saying.
So what you're saying is that public school are in this area are probably not the right people teaching your children at the right time.
Yes.
Okay.
Not this stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And if this was an elective class in high school, I'm more open to it than if it's taught by multiple teachers from different perspectives. I'm more open to it than I am
in math.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think
Sally has 4 genders.
Right. I mean, there's even now a movement within mathematics that's labeling it oppressive because it gives right and wrong answers.
Right.
And so this is kind of the extreme version of critical theory, which all the other theories are under. So when we talk about queer theory or gender, studies or critical race theory, it's all under the umbrella of critical theory. And critical theory takes the world and divides the world up into oppressors and oppressed.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got that. Those are the two groups. And so if math, and so what I'm getting to with this is, so with these two groups, you're either an oppressor or you're an oppressed based upon your race, your sex, your religion, your gender, how you identify yourself within these spheres.
Or what answer you got for number 5.
Yeah. And what they're saying is about math is, well, that math was created by the oppressed with clear, distinctive right and wrong answers, or by the oppressor, excuse me, with right and wrong answers, and therefore needs to kind of be rejected at hand. And so that's like, again, extreme part of this, but critical theory, and I think that's where most people don't understand kind of what's happened in all of this. So critical theory is trying to reduce people into these two groups, like you're either this or you're this. And it's, again, I brought up earlier, it's an attack on identity, on who you are. And if I'm reducing identity down to just, I'm the color of my skin or the gender that I identify as, or if I am male or female, if I'm cisgender or non-binary, and, if this is how I'm being reducing my identity down to these basic fundamental things, that's terrible. You're so much more than that. You're so much more complex than that. And I think that behind...
No, I'm not.
Yeah, you're just a simple...
Yeah.
I know. I mean, but, you're
so boring.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's just because you're an oppressor. You don't know any better.
Oh,
and
I
so,
am?
yeah.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, you're the... Yeah, man, you're white.
Oh, yeah. I forgot.
You're white. You forgot you're white? You're white. You're a male. You're a Christian. You're college educated.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you're cisgender.
Oh, man.
Yeah, you're straight.
Oh, I'm so straight, too.
Yeah, you're such an oppressor.
Oh. Well, cool.
So,
I got to live my identity.
Yeah.
And my truth.
That's right. It's your truth.
It's going to be the best oppressor I can be.
God, people are going to hate you. But from that, then the goal is in these two categories of oppressor or oppressed. Then the goal from that point is to say, all right, those of us who are oppressors, so you and I, both fully oppressors, high five on that.
Hit the microphone.
So, we're both fully oppressors. And so in light of that, what we need to do is become awakened. So the idea of, like, you've heard the word woke, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just the slang term for, like,
that's what that means?
Yeah. It's like,
wow.
I'm becoming, yeah, exactly.
Get it now.
You just had an awakening moment, didn't you? And so to become awakened to the fact that you're an oppressor.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And that was me realizing it.
That right there.
Oh.
You had a moment of being woke.
That's awesome. That's what everyone's talking about.
That's what everybody's talking about. So now you're woke.
Wow.
You're
Brave new world. The future looks so something.
Probably look terrible now. But anyway, so you've been awakened to the reality that you're an oppressor. So now under that reality, now you can become an ally to the oppressed. But to be very clear, you do not have a voice. You cannot speak on behalf of them even, because only those that have that lived experience have the authority and the voice to speak. So you can be an ally by showing your support to them, by denouncing your oppressorhood, by confessing you're a racist and a sexist. Okay? And that you've been an oppressor. Okay?
Future's not looking too good.
See, I told you. Yeah. And so you become an ally with them.
Why can't they do the same thing?
Do what?
They're never going to understand what it's like to be an oppressor.
No, well, actually,
they are never going to understand.
But
the day-to-day goings-ons of an oppressor.
Oppressor and how easy it is. I don't know. Hard. Is it tough?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
So for the last minute and a half that I knew about it.
And so
you've only said negative things about me since then.
And so you're an oppressor.
It's been pretty bad. I'm beginning to not feel like an oppressor.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Good. That's actually good.
I'm feeling kind of oppressed.
Okay. You're starting to be able to identify with them.
Did we just figure out the whole thing?
Yeah.
This is why people don't want to send their kids to public school?
Yeah, pretty
Episode
much.
Done. Time to go be oppressed.
And so,
wow.
But then
I feel like I've cocooned. Or uncocooned.
Uncocooned.
Yeah.
You come out.
Yeah.
You've gone through the chrysalis process, right. And now you're a
I don't know what that means because I've never critical theoried before.
You're a beautiful butterfly.
Yeah.
Okay. And so,
thank you.
No, the first nice thing.
Am I the same gender now as when I went in?
I don't know.
Okay.
We'll do some self-discovery in a little bit.
Cool.
So, all right. So
this has been a fun episode.
I don't even know what we're talking about anymore. All right. So
I don't either.
All right. To conclude my thoughts on critical theory.
Critical theory. Here we go.
All right. And so you. And so you become an ally, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the ultimate goal is so you engage, and as an ally, you're pushing for social justice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then the end part is that justice actually has been served. Okay. But the unfortunate end part is that inevitably the goal has to become that the oppressed become the oppressor, and then the whole cycle starts over again.
Oh.
Because
it's like the circle of
right. Because
woke.
It's not actually fighting for equal rights.
Because there are no equal rights.
It's actually demanding that one group becomes less than the other. So it's actually asking for one group to step down from being the oppressor.
Mm-hmm.
But inevitably, the oppressed flip that role eventually.
Well,
and that's the logical outcome of it.
The smart thing to do is for the oppressors to switch sides right as they get even, and then go back up with the other people.
But you can't.
You could try.
I mean, I guess if you'd have to start identifying in a lot of different ways, though.
Oh yeah.
But you being a white male is going to be really tough for you to overcome that.
Oh yeah, that part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's going to be a tough one for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh well.
So
this is why. Okay. So all of the things that you just brought up with critical theory and critical the other gender stuff.
Right.
All of that stuff, like, you just went on for a long time about it. I know I was interrupting, but
Yeah.
but you seemed pretty fired up about it.
Yeah.
So this is like
this is actually what's behind all the things we're talking about.
all of it.
Yeah. All of the gender, all of the sexual,
Like even the take prayer out of school stuff.
no,
Okay.
not that stuff, but the present day stuff
Okay.
that we're seeing with the with the questioning of genders and sex and sexuality and those kind of things. This is critical theory is what's behind all of this. So critical theory has been going on since following the civil rights movement.
Yeah.
And it started in a legal way, but now it's eventually, and I won't go through the whole history of it, found itself in academia.
Uh-huh.
And this is what's being taught in academia, and now it has begun to trickle down into our public schools.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, critical theory is the biggest issue I've got with public schools right now. Because critical theory is being put
do you
in a
think
place.
most Christians feel that way?
I don't think most Christians have the language I'm using.
You mean know that what they're
Talking
mad
about
is
is critical theory. Correct.
Okay.
I don't think they have a clue.
But this is the stuff that they're mad about.
This is the stuff they're upset about.
Okay.
Yes. Like these are the driving, these are the driving topics, if you were, for Christians being upset. Like quit pushing this kind of stuff, which seems very upside down. And what I don't love about critical theory either is you're immediately labeled in a group.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because again, based on the color of your skin or your sex or the gender you identify as or whatever. And so you're immediately thrown into a group. Okay.
Okay.
And so now we're having these group conversations instead of individuals taking responsibility for their own lives or you being labeled as something that maybe you're not. Like, so for example, it would be like, all right, so critical race theory, one of the basic tenets of critical race theory is that every white person is a racist.
Okay.
It's one of the 4 fundamental tenets of critical race theory is that every white person is a racist, whether consciously or unconsciously, they're a racist. Okay. And so that's what it's labeled as in a group setting, not giving individuals any ability to say, well, you know what? I know there's racism out there. I know it exists, but I'm not racist. But I would love to champion alongside of those who have been hurt by racism. I would love to champion with those who want to see racism, just removed from our society. Like, I mean, I'm for that. But the problem with critical race theory, it doesn't give individuals the opportunity to engage in those kind of ways because you're just labeled a racist based on the color of your skin, right? And minorities are not seen as racist. And the reality is there's racism among minorities too. I know that sounds real rich for me as a white person to say that.
Yeah, racist.
I know. Now I'm coming off as racist.
Wow.
I know. But like, so some of my closest friends who are black would agree with me on this. And they would say, no, there's race. It goes both ways. And so, and then automatically, because you're white, you have white privilege. That's a fundamental tenet, right? Not only are you racist, but you have privilege. Well, I know a lot of white people that do not have privilege. And so I think the issue becomes, again, if you're gonna, and what I would call indoctrinate our kids into critical theory, you're doing so, I think, in a really unhealthy way of viewing people and viewing individuals, and you're labeling them before you even know them, right? Like, so the idea of MLK saying, you're not going to be judged by the color of your skin, but by the content of your character, like that's just been thrown aside. That doesn't even matter anymore. And so I think that's part of that is the issue that I have with all of this stuff being pushed into the public school system, is because it just seems like critical theory is taking over.
Into every subject.
Correct.
everything that goes on there.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, because even, you can't even discuss literature anymore without these things being at play.
Right. So evolution was like, just come home that day and we'll tell you it's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But this stuff is, the whole school is, and it is into every subject and everything that they do.
Now, listen, I'm going to be real clear. I'm not saying every teacher buys into this ideology.
Right.
Okay. Like my wife, make sure we're clear on this. Like my wife was a public school teacher.
Mhm.
Okay. And so.
Racist.
Well, she was white, you know, so, but I want to make sure that I'm not saying every teacher has bought into this, that I'm not saying every teacher buys into this at all. I'm not saying that. All I am saying, though, is it is making its way into the school systems. I mean, whole cities and states now are adopting curriculum that is completely based in critical theory.
Mm-hmm.
And that's coming into their schools. And it's and largely, again, it's because if this is what you're exposed to in your undergrad level of this is what you're exposed to in your undergrad level of learning at college or university, or maybe you've gone to get in your master's in whatever field of education you have, and so therefore maybe you're exposed to it there, then if that's what you've kind of been exposed to and you believe it, then it's going to eventually trickle down into the public schools, and that's what's happened.
Mm-hmm.
It's been in the academy and the university level a lot longer than it has been in the public school level. It's just kind of finally made its way down there, and I think it's become. And then given social media's presence, it's just become commonplace, if you were.
So it's a beyond school problem. It's a society-wide problem.
Sure.
But it's just in schools, and that's where it started.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that in the United States, we've moved, there's been a shift from postmodernism to critical theory.
Okay.
Like it's its own worldview. And I feel like that is, we've moved into critical theory.
All the things throughout the years that Christians have been mad about with public school, do you think all of those things have been bad?
Using prayer and reading of scripture as an example, I think that was more emblematic of what was already beginning to go on in our larger society.
Okay.
And so I don't think that removing prayer and reading of scripture in schools in a vacuum shifted everything. Even our founding fathers believed that religion offered a moral compass to having for the sake of the way we have set up our country.
Mm-hmm.
And so even someone like Benjamin Franklin, who was not a believer, but he even believed that religion, and when he would say religion, Christianity, that it had the moral fabric in it to help give society at large a moral compass.
Okay.
And I do feel like the moral compass has been lost. And I don't think that's just because of prayer and reading of scripture being taken out of school.
Okay.
And so, because that's not the school's, it's not the school's responsibility. So if I'm a Christian and I want my kids to continue in the faith, I'm not expecting the school to give that to my kids.
Yes.
That's my responsibility as a parent, right? To pass that along to my kids, both at house, at church, that's my responsibility. My wife's and I responsibility to pass that along, our faith along to our children.
School should be a neutral place.
Yes.
Okay.
As much as possible. And I realize that's hard.
Yeah.
Because every teacher's going to have a bent and a thought. And so, and that's why I'm saying, I'm not even saying we can't have conversations. Just have fair conversations.
But what I'm gathering is that your problem is anything that is anything at school that is telling your child that what you're teaching them at home, their religion is wrong.
Yeah, or their ideology. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Because not every family is sending their child to school with a religion.
Right.
But every one of us have a way of viewing the world, an ideology we hold to, if I'm in the LGBTQ community, and would you want to send your child to a school that's attacking that all the time?
No.
And they shouldn't have to, right?
Right.
They shouldn't have to be attacked. And I guess that's kind of what I'm getting at.
Okay.
Like, kids should be, there's completely a way to be with kids. And I know it's a long chunk of time during the course of the day.
So critical theory attacks your kids.
Okay. Critical theory, I would view that as an attack on not just Christian kids, but just kids in general.
Okay.
But I would also view any religious extremism as an attack too, or even a religious like fundamentalism in the sense of like, you know, like again, if you're a family that holds to, or that you're in the LGBTQ community, you're sending your kids there, you don't want them to be attacked.
Right.
They wouldn't feel attacked by critical theory, but they would feel attacked if there was religion being pushed on them, or not even just religion. Let's just remove religion from the equation. If you just had someone just going, well, absolutely, biologically, that's just not so, da-da-da-da-da-da, right? Then I think for me, like, kids should be able to go to school and it really be a safe place. And there is a way to be at school for the whole length of time you're at school without these agendas being pushed from any of these sides. So yeah, and I know maybe I'm living in a fairy tale world, I don't know, but I do think there's a way to teach math and science and history and being honest about all those things without having to impress upon children an ideology or religion that would be rejected by them at home, you know?
Okay.
And so I do think there's a way forward in public schools for that to happen. Although if I'm being frank, I am concerned just because of who's leading in our Department of Education right now and the leanings they hold, which very much align themselves with critical theory. And so that's what gives me grave concern for the public school system now and going into the future.
Well, my brave new world awaits. We must end this episode.
Okay. I can't wait for you to go discover your brave new world.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Woo! It's going to be awesome.
It's amazing.
Wow. Well, this has been the When I Heard This podcast. You can follow the podcast on Facebook and Instagram at When I Heard This Podcast, and X and Locals at When I Heard This. Patreon $5. Tell your friends about the show. Emphasis on the subscribe. You can follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Nate Robinsoff, and you can follow Joseph on Instagram at
Rev Joe T.
This has been the When I Heard This podcast, and we will see you guys next time.
Bye.